Hello friends, how are you? Welcome to the Japan Study Center. Today we are going to see the chapter of geography, and what is our topic today?
Weather and climate. There is a most important chapter here. An important point also is the same, weather and climate. First point, weather and climate is the most important here. The first of all come to the weather. The weather is the most important here. The weather is the temperature, pressure, wind and humidity and the precipitations and interact with there is each other. You know that there is important here. Temperature, pressure, wind is humidity, and precipitations is interact with each other. They influence their atmospheric condition like the direction and velocity of wind. Amount of insolations is a cloud cover and the amount of the precipitation, and these are known as the element of both weather and climate. The influence of this element is a differ from to place to place. It is important here. Then there is the influence of atmospheric condition like the direction and the velocity of the wind, amount of the insulations, cloud cover and the amount of precipitation, and these are known as there is element of both weather and climate here. And time to time, the place to place and the time to time, there is important here. It may be restricted to a small area and from a short duration of time. We very often to describe this influence in the name of the weather and a sunny, hot, warm, cold, fine, etc. depending upon their dominant element of weather at a place and at the point of time. Therefore, the weather is the atmospheric condition of a place for a short durations with respect to its one or more elements. Two places even a short distance apart maybe have a different kind of weather at one and the same time. It is important here. We very often describe this influence in the same. The name of their weather is a sunny, hot, warm, cold, fine. Depending upon their dominant element of weather at the place and at the point of the time, there is important here. And the important here, the weather is atmospheric condition of a place to short duration with respect to its one or more elements. Second point is also important here. Weather is a forecast. There is important here. Weather forecast. It is important to know by the some means that the comings is a weather is a advance. You may be a planning to go on a hike without is known that is a particular day may be rainy. Farmers, soldiers, servitors, and tourists, and many others are interesting to now there is a weather condition in advance for their own benefit. That is why the newspaper publish a weather report and the weather broadcast along with the map showing with the information. You know that there is important here. Farmers, soldiers, and the voters, tourists, and maybe other are interested on there is a weather condition in advance for their own benefit. And that why the newspaper published to weather report and weather broadcast along with their map showing its information. Now better weather is a broadcast are available with the use of weather satellites. The weather conditions are televised is every day. When a cyclone, there is a dangerous weather is expected to warming an issue over to the radio, television, and newspaper, so that is the people can be prepared to save themselves. And there is a property from it is a housed. This is important here. The weather offices collect the data on temperature, wind, cloud, cover, is rainfall, and the other atmospheric phenomenon. Through it is a numerous is observation center, and these centers are scattered all over the country. Similar information is also received from to the ships, alliance, and it is a high seas. Their analysis of the data thus is a collective help in the forecasting weather conditions for the next 48 hours or even for a week. The significance of a weather information of supply to through a map and it is a forecast. It is a better is utilized in a country like the UK and where is a weather changes very rapidly. There is the most important data here. The next year season. The season is the most important here. You know that a year is divided into the season depending upon the variation is atmospheric condition, and there are specific period in a year which have a similar weather condition. Season is the period of the years is characterized by a particular set of weather conditions resulting from their inclination of the earth as an axis and their revolution of the earth around the sun. The same cycle of the season is repeated is a year after year. The fourth season, each of the 3 months duration, has been to recognized in the temperate region. And there is spring, summer, autumn, and winter. There is the most important season here. In our countries, we have three distinctive seasons, which are summer, winter, and rainy. The India is a meteorological department has recognized four main seasons. They are called weather season, December to February, and hot weather season, March to May, and advancing monsoon season or rainy season is a June to September, and the starting is a monsoon season is October to November. Traditionally, there are six seasons in North India. There is the Basant Ritu, Chaitra, Vaishakh or March to April. Agreshanam Ritus is Santyas, Arsara and the Maitri June. Brasha Ritu, that is Sharavans, is a Bhadrapad, is a July to the August. And Sharad Ritu is a Ashwan, is a Kartika, and there is September to October. And Hemant Ritu is the Maghar, is Rish, Post are the November to December. And Shri Sar Ritu, there is a Magh, Fagun or a Jan to Feb. There is the most important here Ritus on here India of the season of six types here. The rays of the sun are more or less direct on the equator throughout the year. In the equatorial region is experience there is the same temperatures all the years around. Therefore, a season are insignificant one are near their equator. Near the coastal and the oceanic influence of reduce the seasonal variation. In the polar region, there are only two seasons: is a long winter and short summer. The next word is a climate. Climate is also important here. The average weather condition is prevalent is from one season to another in the course of a year. Over a large area is known as a climate. There is an average of this weather is a condition is calculated from to data collected for a several year, about a 35 year for a larger area. Rajasthan, for example, experienced hot and various climate, and Kerala has a tropical rain climate, and Greenland has a cold desert climate, and the climate of the Central Asia is a temperate is a continentals. Climate of region is considered more or less permanent. The here is an important point arrive there. The weather is the atmospheric condition of any place for a short period of time with respect to its one or more elements such as a temperature, pressure, wind, humidity and precipitation, sunshine, cloud over and etc. There is an important here. The period of the years which are characterized by the particular set of the weather condition are mainly caused by there is an inclination of the earth as a axis and the revolution of the earth around the sun are known as the season. And the average is the weather condition of a large area for the past several years is known as the climate, precising more and less permanent. The next year, the difference between the weather and climate can be tabulated under the first year weather and second year's climate. The weather is the study of the atmospheric condition for the short duration of a limited area. And climate is here. Climate is the study of the average weather condition observed over a long period of time for a longer area. The second year, weather is influenced by the any one of its the predominant is element is the temperature or humidity, and the climate is there is a collective effect all it is the elements. The third point is also important here. The weather change very often. It is a more or less is a permanent. Is the third point is the climate. It is experienced over to small area of the country. But the fourth year is climate. It is experienced over to large area of the continent. The fifth year of place can be experienced different types of weather condition in a year. But the next point is the fifth year is climate. A place can experience only one types of climate. The next topic is the most important here. Factors affecting of climate. There is important here factor affecting a climate. Different regions of the world have a different temperature. Different regions of the world have a different temperature, humidity, and precipitation. There is a general things here. You know that this difference influences the lifestyle of the people living under different climatic conditions. The important here, the lifestyle of the people living under different climatic conditions, and to understand a different climatic condition. Let us discuss the factor which case the variation in there is a climate of place or regions here. The first point is important here. Latitude or distance for the equator. Latitudes are distant from the equator. The place near the equator are warmer than to the place which are far away from it. This is because the ray of the sun fall vertical on equator and slanting in the temperate and the polar region. As we have discussed earlier, their vertically rays are concentrated over a small area than to the slanting one. Again, the vertical ray is passed through a shorter distance in the atmosphere before reaching the earth as a surface. Therefore, lower altitudes, higher is the temperature and vice versa. The Malaysia which is near the equator is warmer than England which is far away from the equator. There is an important point here. The Malaysia which is near the equator is warmer. The England which is far away from the equator, there is a different here. The second point is also important here. Latitude are the higher from the mean sea level. Altitude are the higher from to means sea level here. We all know that is a mountain are cooler than to plants. Shimla is situated on a higher altitude is cooler than Jalandhar. Though there is both are almost on the same altitude. The temperature decreases with the height of a place. For a vertical rise of the 165 meters, there is on average decrease in a temperature at the rate of 1 Celsius. Thus, the temperature decrease with the increasing in height. The important here, altitude are the higher from to the means of sea level here. The next point here is the continentals are the distance from a sea. There is important here. Continental are the distance from the sea. The water is a bad conductor of heat. The water is a bad conductor of heat. It will take longer time to heat and the longer time to cool. Due to this is a moderating effect of the sea, place near the coastal has low range of temperature and the high humidity. The place in the interior of the continent do not experience a moderating effect of the sea, and the place have extremely temperature. The place far from to sea have a high range of the diurnal daily and the annual temperatures. Mumbai has a relative lower temperature and higher rainfall than the Nagpur, though the both almost situated on the same altitude. That is important here. The next point here, fourth, nature of prevailing wind. The nature of prevailing winds, it is important here. The one shore wind varying to the moisture from the sea and case the rainfall on their area through which they are pass. The offshore wind is coming from to the land are dry and help in the evaporation. In India, the one shore summer monsoon wind bearing the rain while offshore winter monsoon wind are generally dry. And next point is a cloud cover. This cloud cover is the most important here. In India, generally of the cloudless sky as the desert, temperature even under shade are very high because of hot daytime sunshine. In the night, this heat is radiated back from to the ground very rapidly. It results in the large total range in the temperature. On the other hand, under cloud sky and the heavy rainfall at the Thiruvananthapuram, the range of temperature is very small. The next here, 6 point. Ocean currents. The ocean water move from one place to other, partly as a attempt to be a equalize temperature and density of water. Ocean current are the larger movement of water, usually from a place for a warm temperature to one of the cooler temperature, or vice versa. There are warm oceans current arise their temperature of the coastal and sometimes varying rainfall will the cold currents lower their temperature and the create a fog near the coasts. For the waves, there is a nearby is a free form ice even in the winter due to the warm north Antarctica draft will be poured the Quebec and the Canadas, the remaining of frozen during the winter month. Due to the chilling effect of the cold Labrador's current is the spirit of the fact that the port Quebec is situated in a much lower altitude than the Portal Barres. The worst shore is the wind pass over to the worms currently carry to the warm air to be the interiors and the rise the temperature of their island area. Similarly, the winds blowing over to the cold current carry a cold air to be interior and create a fog and mist. The next year, direction of mountain chain. There is a most important point here. Direction of mountain chain. The mountain chain act or naturally barrier for the wind. The one so has a moisture, land and wind are forced to rise after the streakings against the mountain and give a heavy rainfall on the windward side. And these winds descending on the leeward side causing a very low rainfall. The Great Himalayas check their moisture laden monsoon wind from the crossing over to the Tibet. And this mountain chain also is a check the beatings polar cold wind from the entire into the India. And this is the reason for which is the northern plan of India get a rains will the Tibet remain is a perpetuous rain shadow area with the lesser amount of rainfall. The next point here slope and the asap. There is important here. The concentration of the heat began more on the gently slope, arise their temperature of the air above them. It is a lesser concentration along to the stepper, slope lower the temperature. At the same time, mountain slope facing the sun are the warmer than the slope which are away from the sun as a rays. The southern slope of Himalaya are warmer than the northern is a slope. That is an important point here. The next point here, the nature of the soil and the vegetation cover. The nature of the soil and vegetation cover, the important point here. The nature of soil depends upon it is the texture, structure and composition. And these qualities vary from a soil to the soil. Stormy and sandy soil are good to conductor of the heat, while a black clay soil absorb the heat of the sun as ray quickly. The where is the surface radiated their heat easily. The desert are hot in the day and the cold in the night. The forest area has a lower range of temperature throughout the year. In the contrast is a non-forested area. That is an important point here. The one aspect here, the factors which affect the climate of place or region are altitude or the distance from equator, altitude are the higher from to means sea level. Contaminately at a distance from a sea is the nature of their prevailing winds, ocean current, direction of mountain chain, and the slope, and it is respect to the nature of soil and the vegetation cover. Next topic is the most important classification of the climate. There is the most important here. The very effect of the major weather element in the different part of the world, and there is the most important here. The every location of districts of the climate here. There is a number of different climates is large in order to easily understand and the correspondent there is a larger variety of the climate of the world has been classified into a few major groups, each having contain a common important characteristics here. Although there is several attempt has been to made by scholar
To classify the climate of the world for the proper understanding of the major climate types, no single classification is a perfect. As a climate stands for the generalized and composite weather condition. However, the Greek phrase made in the first attempt to classify the world climates on the basis of the distribution of the temperature and insolation. They divide the world into five latitudinal thermal zones. The boundary of these zones are fixed on the basis of the angle at which their sun as a ray strike the earth. The following are the five thermal zones is the most important here. So here the five thermal zone is the most important here. There is a northern freeze zone, northern temperate zone, territory zones, southern temperate zones, and south freeze zone. There is a five zone is most important. Show in this diagram. There is a most important zone here. The first one there is a thermal zone. Thermal zone is divided here. Territory zone. It is the largest and thermal zone. It is the largest of the thermal zone. It is cover almost half of the area of the earth as a surface. It is situated between there is a tropical of Cancer 23 one and a half north and tropic of Capricorns 23 one and a half south. The sun is a ray almost vertically throughout there here in this zone. And the midday sun is overhead to equator on the equator is on the 21st March and 23rd September. It is also is overhead to the tropical of Cancer on 21st June at the tropical of Capricorns is the 22nd December. The duration as of the day and the night are away equal. The 12 hours at each one of the equator and then increase to the 13 hour 27 minutes at the tropics. The range of temperature is the lowest at the equator and it is increasing to about to the tropics. There is the most important zone here. The next here, temperate zone. The temperate zone are one on the other side of the torus zone. The north temperate zone lies between to the tropics of Cancer, 23 one and a half north, and the Arctic circle is a 66 one and a half north. The south temperate zone lies between the tropics of Capricorn, 23 one and a half south, and Antarctic circle, 61 and a half south. The sun is near to the overhead is a zone is a winter season. The night are longer and the day are the shorter and the vice versa in their summer. The difference between the duration of the day and the night increasing to about the poles. The maximum duration of the day in the summer and that of night is a winter in the polar circle is the 24 hours. When it is the summer is the northern hemisphere, it is a winter in the southern hemisphere and vice versa. The third point is a phase zone. Phase zone like their temperate zone, phase zone is also found in their both of hemisphere. The north phase zone is the lies between the Arctic circle 66 one and a half north and the north pole is a 90-degree north. The south phase zone lies between the Antarctic circle 66 one and a half south and the south pole is 90 degrees south. During the winter season, the sun does not rise above the horizon for almost 6 months. And these are the coldest region of the world. The surface remains permanently frozen under thick snow. The earth is divided into the five thermal zones on the basis of the distribution of the insolation and temperature. The five thermal zones are territory zone, northern and southern temperate zone, and northern and southern freeze zone. There is an important point here. The next point here, climatic type. There is important here. The B here, climatic types. The concept of thermal zone is that thermatically and explained there is a distribution of solar energy over to the earth as a surface. As discussed earlier, there are several other factors besides the angle of the sun's rays. which influence the climatic of the place, keeping in view other factors responsible for the distribution and combined influence of the temperature and rainfall. The modern scientist has arrived to several classification of the climate and its types. The most widely used of system of climatic classification in its various modified form is that is Valdemar Koikapen is 1846 to 1940. It is based upon the temperature, precipitation, and their seasonal characteristics. The relationship of climate with the vegetation is also included with it. According to these schemes, the world has been divided into 5 climatic groups and they are further subdivided into the 30 climatic types that are following. There is the most important here, climatic group and climate type. The first here, tropical climate, hot air all season. Tropical rainforest, savanna climate, monsoon climate. Important here. The next here, dry climate. The dry climate, desert climate, and stable climate. And the sea here, warm temperate, raining and middle altitude, rainy climate, mid-winter. The air types here, Mediterranean climate, China types climate, and Western European climate. The next year, humid middle latitudes climate, several winter. There is here Tiger climate, cool east coastal climate, and there are continental climate. There is the most important here. The last 7 is a polar climate. There is an important here. The polar climate here, tundra climate, and ice cap climate. There are types here. You will study the specific character of some of these climate types in their sequentially lesson dealing with the life of people in low altitudes, mid altitudes, and high altitude region of the world. And the main important point here, these copies scheme of climatic classification based on the temperature, precipitation, and the seasonal characteristics. That is important here. And according to these schemes, is the world has been divided into 5 climatic groups and 30 climate types. That is the most important here.